So how's it going? This is Michael Buckoff from BetterTOEFLScores.com, and right now I want to talk about listening comprehension, and the purpose of the newsletter this month is to focus on what's called understanding natural speech. Now, if you watch any of my videos at the TOEFL IBT blog, or you're listening to me right now, I speak fairly naturally. I'm not a professional, what do you call one of these people who have radio shows, or the TOEFL ETS is not going to use me as a speaker, as a narrator. What did the speaker mean, or anything like that. I just speak natural English from the United States. So even just by listening to me and hearing me and watching my videos or listening to some of my posts, you're getting, I think, some pretty good practice with natural speech. Now, I got to warn you. The TOEFL does have some of the speakers who are speaking during the TOEFL IBT test, they will use some characteristics of natural speech. Now listen to the following two one-minute passages. The first passage will be presented in scripted speech. When I say scripted speech, it means the speaker is reading from a script. Now the second one is going to be presented using natural speech.
From NPR News, this is All Things Considered. I'm Michelle Norris. Public health officials around the world are concerned about an outbreak of a new strain of flu in Mexico, one that seems to have originated in pigs. Today, officials there shut down schools, closed museums, libraries, and theaters, and urged people to keep their distance from one another. As NPR's Richard Knox reports, experts believe the same virus has also made its way to the southwestern United States.
Just yesterday, officials at the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention were trying to calm fears about 7 cases of swine flu in California and Texas. There was no suggestion they might be caused by a new virus that could touch off a global pandemic. But Acting CDC Director Richard Besser opened today's teleconference on a very different note.
Our concern has grown since yesterday in light of what we've learned since then.
Most worrisome was new evidence from the CDC and Canadian labs that the Mexican virus appears genetically very close to the one that's shown up north of the border.
I think that you'd be safe in saying that from every...
New Microsoft ad is out. Now, you saw the first one with Lauren, the young woman who apparently turns out to be, well, an actress. Lauren, in quotes, not her real name, who goes out in search of a $1,000 laptop computer and goes to the Apple store and finds out, she says, I guess I'm just not cool enough to buy an Apple. Ends up buying an HP laptop. Well, the new one is Gianpaolo, who says, I am a technical guy, and so I like to be able to modify my software and so forth. So he goes out, same idea. He was looking for a laptop for $1,500, and he doesn't even go to the Apple store. Actually, it looks like Lauren didn't either, because people with, the problem when you put these things on YouTube, Microsoft, is that people look at these a little more closely because they can play it over and over and over again. They notice that, Lauren...
Now, if you just listen to these two one-minute passages, there are differences between scripted and unscripted speech. Scripted speech, basically a person is reading. They're reading from a script, and that's kind of how they do it. In the second one, they're not reading from a script. And if you're not reading from a script, you are more likely to use characteristics of natural speech. Now, I just answered this, but let me answer it again. So why is understanding natural speech important for you in your listening comprehension proficiency? Number one, because the TOEFL uses natural speech as speakers, you're going to get a higher score if you understand natural speech. Number two, most importantly, and remember this, I don't want you to watch my videos and to get my lessons and think that the only thing I'm trying to do is to help you get a high score in the TOEFL test. I mean, it makes me happy if you get a high score, don't get me wrong, but I want you to function. I want you to be able to use English in whatever the situation might be. It might be in your job. It might be going to a university in which English is spoken. It might be just communicating with a friend in English. I just want you to use English to be able to use it effectively in whatever situation you feel is important to you. That's my goal, really. Now, obviously, if you understand natural speech, you're going to function better in conversational situations. So what are some of the characteristics of natural speech? I just did one. Did you just hear me pause? And then I kind of interrupted myself. I made a mistake, and then I kept going. So that's the first one. Interruptions, mistakes, and corrections. This is one of the characteristics of natural speech. Now, if you're interrupting yourself, you might say something like this. Did I just say, wait a minute. Wait a sec. I actually meant to say, hold on. Or, what did I just say? Those are some things that you might say if you're interrupting yourself when you're speaking. Now, another common type of thing that might happen is somebody's interrupting you. You're speaking, but the other person has something that he or she wants to say. This person might say, hey, listen, look. They might say something like this. Can I just say something about this? Could I stop you there for a minute? May I stop you for a second? Let me just say something. These are additional things that speakers will use when they want to interrupt. Now, be very careful during the TOEFL listening. There's what I call a common TOEFL listening trap. For example, in my listening TOEFL IBT preparation class, my students were listening to a conversation between a student and a staff worker in an admissions office. The student was there to purchase a parking decal for a car. The worker said the following statement. You need to place the parking decal on the left side of the inside part of your windshield. Wait a minute. Did I just say the left side? I meant the right side. You need to place the parking decal on the right side of the inside part of your windshield. Now, of course, after hearing this, one of the questions of this conversation is going to be, where should the parking decal be placed? So the TOEFL wants to make sure that if a speaker makes a mistake and the speaker corrects him or herself, that you need to be able to keep track of what is the correct information. They're not going to ask you, what did the person say incorrectly? That's not the focus here. The purpose is, what is the correct information, particularly where should this decal be placed? Now, a second characteristic of natural speech, in addition, number one, I already told you, is interruptions, mistakes, and maybe corrections. The second characteristic is they're called conversation fillers. Speakers may begin a conversation with certain words. They might say, well, actually, by the way, even, you know. These are ways that a speaker in a natural way might try to begin a conversation. Now, another type of conversation filler, they're called hesitations, and they might even be stutters that a person uses as conversation fillers, things such as and, you know, These are different kinds of hesitations or stutters that a person may use, and the purpose of these, it helps the conversation flow smoothly and can prevent a speaker from being interrupted. For example, if I'm talking to you and I go, I'm going to go to the store, and if I'm doing that in between my thoughts, you're less likely to actually interrupt me because I'm kind of signaling to you that I'm actually not done with my thought. That's why I didn't put any silence in there. Because if I said this, I'm going to the store, and I say nothing, it's possible that you may interrupt me because you think that I'm done. So I think that these hesitations, these uhs, you knows, ers, they're important, and they function well in conversations. Now, another type of conversation filler people use, it's to show agreement. And I think sometimes when we don't want to, we're not trying to change the topic, we're simply agreeing with the person. And maybe we expect them to continue on with that conversation. A person may say things like, quite so, yep, I hear you, got it, 10-4, roger. Yeah, I can see that. These are all things that a person may say when you're talking with them. They may say these kinds of things during the conversation to show agreement. Now, there are some conversation fillers. You may use these to actually end a thought. You might say something like, okay, all right. Do you see what I'm saying? You know? See what I mean? Right? And that's just about it. These are important types of conversation fillers that help us what's called end a thought. So that kind of means maybe you're done with that particular thing. And by the way, professors in university of classes, when they're doing lectures and things, and they're speaking naturally, they will use these kinds of things. And it's very important to pay attention to these things, especially in terms of your note-taking skills. Now, let's talk about some conversation fillers that are important to emphasize important points. A person could say something like, check this out. You will not believe what I'm going to say right now. Listen up. This is really the point. The main point is this. This is what you're not going to believe. Now, if you hear any of these kinds of things, this is maybe trying to emphasize that whatever comes after this is a very, very important idea. It kind of means pay attention. Now, other conversation fillers can be used to change topics. For example, moving right along, getting to the next point of our discussion, putting that issue aside for a moment. Let's leave that on the table for now. I think that's pretty much all we need to say about that. Now, what else do we need to discuss? Now, if you hear conversation fillers along this kind of with this kind of meaning, the speaker is getting ready to change a topic. Now, obviously, if a person has changed the topic and the person wants to get back to the topic or get back to the main point, for example, in a class, it's very possible that a student can ask the professor of class during a lecture, and then this particular question maybe doesn't directly relate to what's happening in the lecture. So the speaker wants to get back to the main point. The person may say things like, anyway, getting back to the point, returning to our discussion, getting back on track now, let's get back to what we were talking about. Now, where were we? These are important in getting back to the topic. So, let's recap what I just said. There's conversation fillers that can begin conversations. There's conversation fillers that are important in helping you either they can help prevent you from being interrupted. There's conversation fillers that show agreement. There's conversation fillers that are used to end thoughts. Some conversation fillers can be used to emphasize points. Some conversation fillers can be used to change topics. And even some conversation fillers are used to return back to a topic. Okay, now let's get into our third point. So we've talked about interruptions and mistakes, corrections. We've talked about conversation fillers, and we've discussed many kinds. Now we need to talk about, it's called reductions or reduced forms. Let me give you an example of a reduced form of a conversation. I'm going to give you all the features of natural English here. You know, I guess I'm kind of observing myself a bit too much nowadays and all. I mean, I guess it's basically because I don't have kind of much to do. But then, yeah, in fact, actually, I really think I've got really nothing to do. I mean, it's the jobless kind of situation, you know. Now, come on. Something has to be done. This thing is bothering me like anything right now. Native speakers often weaken or compress phrases in conversational English. The next part of this video is going to show you different ways of reducing phrases. Listen to the speaker, repeat the long and then the reduced form of each sentence. Then repeat the sentence after the speaker. Do they watch television? Do they watch television? She spoke with you. She spoke with you. Do you swim? Do you swim? She knows for sure? She knows for sure? Write to me. Write to me. Have I explained it clearly? Have I explained it clearly? Have you run? Have you run? Have we done it right? Have we done it right? Have they finished the report? Have they finished the report? Has she written the letter? Has she written the letter? Has he passed the driving test? Has he passed the driving test? Has it stopped snowing? Has it stopped snowing? Has there been any games on television? Has there been any games on television? Does he know her? Does he know her? Is he leaving for the party? Is he leaving for the party? Is she leaving for the party? Is she leaving for the party? Did he come? Did he come? I'm going with him. I'm going with him. She is going with them. She is going with them. It's his car. It's his car. If he's ready, we will go. If he's ready, we will go. He bought 20 socks. He bought 20 socks. She is kind of tired. She is kind of tired. You could have been hurt. You could have been hurt. Or, you could have been hurt. Could have. What did you get that? You coulda. You could have. You can actually do that either way. Don't you know who won? Don't you know who won? Would you mind if I smoke? Would you mind if I smoke? I miss your friend. I miss your friend. What are you doing? what you're doing. What do you think would happen? What do you think would happen? How's your homework coming along? How's your homework coming along? In this practice exercise, listen to what the speaker says. Write down what the speaker means. Now, you're going to hear hesitations, corrections, and things like that. Don't worry about any of that. You're just trying to catch the main idea. For example, if I said a sentence right now, if I go, I'm a bit tired right now, so, I don't know, I'm not going to the store. I mean, that's a lot of pauses, a lot of extra stuff in there. You're just going to write down, he's not going to the store because he's tired. That's it. Or you'll write something along those lines. Does that make sense? So you're going to try to listen and see if you can filter and move out all of those conversation fillers and distractions and things and focus on the main idea. Now, here's what I need to, the purpose of what we're doing right now is for the TOEFL listening, you need to be able to understand the most important points of the lectures and conversations and the most important supporting points of these conversations and lectures despite any distractions of natural speech. Did you get that, grammar? What I'm saying is, even though the speaker uses distracting hesitations, corrections, conversation fillers, and so on, you are still expected to be able to understand the main ideas and the critical supporting points. Okay, here we go with our listening exercise. Number one, if you know you're not that satisfied with your TOEFL score, you can have the entire test rescored. Hold on. Wait a minute. I misspoke. I meant that you can have the writing and speaking sections of the test rescored. Number two, you want to go you want to go with me to the store? I mean, no, not the store. You want to go to the mall? Number three, did you know that there are two forms of cell division we need to study for our upcoming exam? Number four, the history of our country. Well, the history of our country, well, what can I say? It's not as bright as some historians portray it to be. Question 5. There are 75 questions on our test, so you will need to prepare diligently if you want to get a good score. Okay, compare your answers to these correct answers. Number 1. If you're not satisfied with your TOEFL score, you can have the writing and speaking sections of the test rescored. Number 2, do you want to go with me to the mall? Number 3, did you know that there are two forms of cell division we need to study for our upcoming exam? Number 4, the history of our country is not as bright as some historians say. Question 5, there are 75 questions on our test, so you will need to prepare diligently if you want to get a good score. Now, in the next exercise, you're going to hear 2 different conversations, and then you get a series of questions after these conversations. Listen to what the speakers say, then write down answers to the questions which follow. Now, I encourage you, as you listen to this, to take notes. I tell all of my TOEFL students that I teach every quarter, please work on your note-taking skills. It's very important.
Handle on the law. Hello, Sonia.
Hi, Bill. How do I collect on the judgment from last year that I received?
All right, how much is it?
It's about $39,000. It's from 2 different parties.
Oh, boy, you've got it. I would hire a lawyer for collection. There's a book out there, How to Sue and Collect in Small Claims Court. And I know this isn't small claims, but the principles of collecting are the same.
Okay, so
it's how to sue and collect in small claims. You can get it at any bookstore. And the last half is collecting judgments. And it doesn't matter if your judgment is $3,000, $8,000, $50,000, $200,000. It's the same thing in terms of collecting. There's receiverships, there's attachments, there's all kinds of different ways. The person that owes you the money, is that a corporation or is that an individual?
Individuals.
And do they have money?
It used to be a corporation, but it's now, it was a real estate transaction. One of them was a real estate agent we hired, and he went under.
You may have to, well, if he's under and bankrupt, you're done.
Okay.
So you're not going to collect a dime from him.
Even if his name appears as an individual on the lawsuit?
Well, I mean, has he filed a bankruptcy yet?
I believe he has.
And were you listed as one of the debtors?
I don't think so.
Well, then you're okay, but where are you going to get the money from someone who doesn't have it? You know, the other possibility is hiring a collection, either an attorney or a collection agency. Now, they'll take half the money.
Okay.
You know, that's the problem. They're going to take 50% of it, of anything they collect.
Okay, what about the other party that was just...
Then you could go after them the same way. That's why you want to get the book and see if you have access. It'll cost you $20 for the book or $15 for the book, and you'll see if you can go after them. If there are bank accounts you can attach. If there is a business you can come and put a receiver in. There's all kinds of different things you can do. But in the end, it's not easy, and most people end up going to a collection agency or firm. Okay?
Can I give them a call anyway and see if they can give me the money?
Well, yeah, but what are they going to say? Yes?
Well, you never know.
If someone's going to pay you a judgment, they're going to pay it anyway. But yes, there's different things. There's an examination of a judgment debtor. You can haul them into court and examine them. And under oath, they have to tell you if they have money and where they have it. There's a lot of things to do. All right?
Thank you, Bill.
All right. Good luck to you. Jessica, welcome to Handle on the Law. Hello, Jessica.
Bill, my father died without a will, and there were three girls. My eldest sister decided to take over, and so she had asked attorney to, have myself and my younger sister waive the right so that she can represent us in a way. And so, I was so busy with so many.
Did you sign off?
I did.
Okay.
I signed a waiver.
All right. So, and you're not happy with it.
Well, you know what? In the beginning, I thought, I trust her.
Yeah. Let me ask you: do you no longer trust her? Do you think she is acting adverse to your interest and your sister's interest?
Yes.
Then you can walk in and unravel that relationship immediately. It simply takes a probate and estate lawyer, a lawyer who does wills, probates, and estates, to contest the fact that your sister is not acting as a fiduciary. She has to act on behalf of all of you, but you have to have some proof, though.
Well,
Jessica, you got to come in with some hard proof. You just can't say "I think."
Well, that's what my question is to you, though. Is that now that it's all being said and done, the house has been sold, and she has distributed a personal check from her to me and my younger sister, and I feel like that doesn't. Then you better go to an attorney who will write her a letter and say, why did you distribute a personal check? That doesn't make any sense. We want to see all of the documents pertaining to the sale of this property, all of them. Okay, could I ask the lawyer who did this? Sure. For all those documents? Sure. And then can I go back and if I find doesn't seem right, could it be retroactive? Well, yeah, you don't know. It's all, the distributorship's already done. The distribution's already done. What you do is you sue your sister for breach of fiduciary duty is what you do. You sue her for screwing you. sue for, what is it called?
It's called breach of fiduciary duty. She is a fiduciary. She owes it to you. She's a trustee. When you went in and signed and waived your rights, she became the trustee. In other words, she is acting on behalf of all the beneficiaries, and that's a very high duty that the law places. Right. It's called a fiduciary duty. And to breach that is a big-time no-no legally. And if she screwed the two of you and kept any money, and by the way, the fact that she wrote you a personal check does not smell good.
Oh, really?
I'll tell you right now, that already starts to stink. I can't imagine why she would write you a personal check. She should have opened a checking account on behalf of the estate and then distributed the 3 checks equally to each of you on behalf of the estate. In other words, be the estate in the re-estate of and then your dead dad's name. Okay, so this already sounds like it stinks. How much money are we talking about, by the way?
Well, the house sold for, roughly $400, and my sister each got $40,000. Each of you got $40,000? Yeah.
Yeah, you got screwed. If it sold for $400, and how many? You know the amount of debts and everything that were there?
There shouldn't be that much debt.
All right, you got to call. You know what? Contact a lawyer. I would contact a probate and estate lawyer. Just start sending off the letter to the other lawyer. I wouldn't even ask the lawyer. I'd spend a couple $100. Take your other sister, the other screwy. All right, and both of you hire a lawyer, split the cost, and go after the screwer. Okay?
But shouldn't I ask for the that did this? I would do it. I would
do it I would have a lawyer do it personally, because you're going to find that the lawyer, if he's part of this and in cahoots, is going to run around. He's going to take forever to do it.
What kind of lawyer should I be looking for?
Wills, probates, and estates. Wills, probates, and estates.
Wills, probates, and estates.
Yeah. Also, you want to look in the yellow pages under hearing aid. Okay. Goodbye.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
Pleasure. All right. Yeah. Okay, June. Hello, June.
Hi, Bill. What should my husband do to protect himself from liability?
From what?
Well, he has signed contracts with a charter bus company, hotel, and so forth to take about 100 of his friends out of town for a bowling tournament.
Well, I'm assuming, is he doing it as an individual or is he doing it as a corporation?
As an individual.
Then he has full liability.
Yeah,
full liability as an individual. There's only 2 ways he can do it. Number 1, get so much insurance it doesn't matter. Or number 2, set up an LLC and sign the contract as an LLC. Or a corporation. God. But as an individual, you and he are fully liable.
And even if he doesn't get paid a penny?
Doesn't matter.
Really?
Doesn't matter.
That's what I was afraid of.
Yeah, it doesn't matter if you get paid or not.
Okay.
All right?
I shall tell him.
All right. Yeah, you don't do that. 100 of his friends, he's driving around in a bus. No insurance. And no protections. I do that. Good for her for calling, though. Good for her for calling up and going, what does he do to protect himself? Because I'll tell you, can you imagine the phone call the week after the accident happened? My husband was driving 100 of his buddies. He got into a car accident and a bus accident. They're all suing him. Yeah, it's as an individual. Woo. Mark, welcome. Hello, Mark.
Bill. Hi, Bill. Great to talk to you.
Thank you.
So I have a roommate that is moving out, and in our lease we have a clause that says there's a $100 credit to the rent a month for yard work that we would do. In the 7 months she's lived here, she's never done anything. I've asked her repeatedly to help. Now she's moving; it's become acrimonious, and I was wondering if I would be able to go after her for the credit that she received in her part for doing the lawn work.
You can try. Did you do all the lawn work?
I did all the lawn work, and I have photographs.
So sue her for $50. Sue her for $50 a month.
Okay.
And argue that you did all the work and she took the credit, and that's not fair. And she signed a contract saying that she's responsible too.
Right. Okay.
Yeah, and see what a judge has to say. It's only a small claims court case, but the worst is going to happen. You're in the same position you are now.
Exactly right. And then another question regarding the same situation. I rent a den, which is a separate area, and I paid more for that. I came to find out during this process of her moving that there's another large studio, 2-car garage that's been converted into a studio. I thought she had an agreement with the landlord that she paid for that separately. I came to find out that she had just taken that, and she told me that it wasn't available for me to use, even though it was a common area. And in this office area, like I said, I paid more for.
Well, hold on. No, but wait a second. But she didn't pay for the area, you didn't use the area, and she defrauded you out of the use of the area. And so did you not? So here's the problem with that one is you can only get money damages from her.
Okay.
So how financially, how were you screwed by her doing that?
Well, because if that would have been an area that, like you said, if that would have been known that was a common area, for her to have exclusive...
But the problem is, if the landlord didn't charge rent, no money changed hands.
Gotcha.
So you can approximate the value of it, but that's going to be a tougher one because the defense is there wasn't any money. I basically screwed you out of a free area.
Right.
You're right. I did screw you, but there was no money involved. So how are you going to sue me for something that's free?
Okay.
Yeah, but give it a shot. You got nothing to lose. A judge may agree with you. Just throw some value to it, whatever monthly value the landlord says it's worth. That if you were to charge and hit her for half of it, and then just add that to the lawsuit and see if the judge agrees with you. Okay.
Great, thank you. And one real quick question. In that den office area, it came to be known to me it had bad wiring. I lost a hard drive on my computer. I lost a printer and then another electrical device. I wasn't told anything about that when I moved in. The previous... You want to
sue the landlord for that one? Did you tell him? Did you put it in writing? Did you make a claim?
Yeah, I talked to the landlord and...
Anything in writing?
Yes, and she didn't know about it either. This was just something that happened with the previous tenants.
You can give it a shot.
Didn't know about it.
You can try. Again, these are pretty ephemeral things, but you got nothing to lose. Add that, sue the landlord for that one. You'll be in court all day. Roommates, landlords, everybody. That's why God invented small claims court. I love it. All right, we'll take a break. This is Handel on the Law.
Now get ready to listen for the next conversation. Again, I encourage you to take notes, and you can use your notes to answer the questions.
The John and Ken Show, John Cobalt and Ken Champeau. So we're going through a great story in Reason magazine. Failed States is the title. Michael Flynn and Adam B. Summers. And it's about how nationwide many governors and legislators blew too much money, but nobody blew more money than Arnold Schwarzenegger, Gray Davis, and the California legislature over the last 10 years. In fact, there's a whole section of this article devoted to California. It's entitled Golden Failure.
Now, we told you just before the break, they start with this. In fiscal year 1990 to 91, California took in more than $38 billion in general fund revenues. In 08-09, the revenues are now $102 billion. If the state had simply limited spending increases to the 4.4% annual growth in consumer price index plus population, the state would be sitting on a $15 billion surplus instead of this $42 billion deficit they're projecting.
Right.
Do you understand that difference?
So if all the union workers just got their 4% increase, and you added a little bit of extra money for the population increase, which is largely illegal alien, but still, if you just limited the spending to those two categories of increase, cost of living, population growth, we would have had a $15 billion surplus instead of a $42 billion deficit. What does that tell you? That tells you over a year and a half, well, we have overspent by $57 billion. $57 billion over 18 months.
Next paragraph. A significant portion of California's spending increase stems from the growth in state employees. Today, there are more than 356,000 workers on California's payroll, 9.3 state employees for every 1,000 residents, and they even have a chart that shows you the number of California state employees per 1,000 population. And you can see this thing, which goes back to 1990. It kind of flattens out there in the mid-90s. And then, beginning in 1996 or 1997, it just explodes all the way 2002, 2003, drops a little bit, and now climbs again.
The two
Schwarzenegger's been governor.
The internet booms, if you track it exactly, it goes from 98 to 2001. That's the huge increase. That was the dot-com boom. And again here from 2006 to 2008, which is the height of the real estate boom.
Right.
And so what you have there is all the extra money that came in, and it was a lot of it. It was an astonishing amount of money, more than they would know what to do with. They just fed it all to the unions, shoved it into the unions. The increase in personnel, they write, is important because so much of the budget is devoted to employees' wages and benefits, and because their pension benefits, which are locked into place for all current employees, are both colossal and precarious. And they talk about the California Public Employees Retirement Security System. CalPERS is the common name. It was the largest public pension fund in the United States until last year, and it lost 20% of its value in just 3 months of 2008.
And if you heard that story this week, they still decided to pay some of the executives of that company bonus money.
Big bonus money.
Reminiscent of the big, AIG bailout story.
Hundreds of thousands of dollars per person in bonus money, even though these fools stood there while 20% of the pension's worth evaporated. And then they say, well, we have to hold on to this fine talent. Fine talent? You blew 20% of the pension.
Everybody blew 20%.
Huh? My mom would have blown 20% of the pension. It's just it's absurd here. And if the stock market stays flat or loses further over the coming years, which could happen, you could have a stock market which gives you no gain for 10 or 15 years. It's happened several times in the last century. The extra taxes will have to make up for the lost pension revenue. Extra taxes. Because these people are guaranteed a payout no matter what happens. And they're government workers. And none of us have security like this. None of us have a payout like this that's absolutely guaranteed no matter what happens in the world.
A dopey quote from Schwarzenegger in this story that I think, John, you and I missed in following all of his Sunday News magazine appearances on television when he was on This Week. Who was that with, George Stephanopoulos?
Yeah.
And he was talking about, remember for a while he was getting headlines because he said, I'll take the stimulus money. Obama, give me the money. California could use the money. Any governor doesn't want the money, I'll take the money. Remember that? He got a lot of play for that. So here it is. He says he unleashed a spectacular metaphor in favor of abandoning a more limited government philosophy. You've got to go beyond just the principles. You've got to go and say, what is right for the country right now? I mean, I see this kind of you go to the doctor's office, and say, look, can you examine me? And the doctor says, you have cancer. You want to do at that point is you want to see the team of doctors around you have their act together. Be very clear and say, this is what we need to do, rather than see a bunch of doctors fighting in front of you and arguing about the treatment. I mean, that is the worst thing. It creates insecurity in the patient. The same as with the people in America.
Well, that's really stupid. In this case...
So he's saying we have a fiscal crisis, we've overspent, and rather than the legislature squabbling with each other, we, the patient, the taxpayers who have cancer, want them to get their act together and raise our taxes so we'll all be happy. But that's the answer to our tax cancer.
Except if you look at his analogy, it's as if the doctor that you went to gave you the cancer.
Yeah, exactly right.
Would you go to the doctor that gave you the cancer for the cure?
For the solution, right, yeah.
Schwarzenegger created the fiscal cancer. He's responsible for it. So, no, that's why nobody's believing him now as he trumps around the state pushing his crock of crap, the propositions.
And the remedy is give us more cancer.
Yeah, right. Well, we're going to give you more money after you've blown all this money? But again, he's not challenged. Nobody challenges him. Nobody takes him on and arms themselves with the kind of information that we have here.
Part of the media likes him because he represents this, he's different. He's not like the other Republicans who just stand there and say, I don't want to raise taxes. He's a guy that will listen to the other side and he will reach out. He's this new bipartisan model. They like that without really examining it.
Well, it's not rational.
It just plays well as a headline.
It's not rational. It's stupid.
He's breakthrough.
He's a colossal, absolute failure, and nobody wants to call him on it.
There's 3 pretty good websites, I think, that can really help you get used to natural speech and also help you improve in your listening comprehension skills. And I want to talk about those 3 right now. The first one, this is called www.kfi640.com. This is a really popular talk radio AM channel in the Southern California and the California area. I'll tell you a little bit about it. Now, what I like about it is you can either opt on Listen Live, and you can hear different radio shows each day focusing on a lot of different topics. For example, you can take a look here. It says On Air, the program schedule. and it gives you a whole list of who's going to be on there. Dr. Handel or Bill Handel. This guy's a lawyer and he does politics. Rush Limbaugh is also politics. Dr. Laura, kind of interesting. She's a psychologist and gives people advice about relationships. You can listen to her each day, Monday through Friday, 1 to 3 p.m., the Pacific Standard Time in the United States. Rush Limbaugh is from 9 to 12 each day. Again, that's Pacific Standard Time in the United States. Bill Handel, I think, is from 5 to 9. John and Ken, politics again. This is from 3 to 7 o'clock. Kennedy in Suits. It's a man and a woman who kind of talk about politics. And this goes on from 7 to 10. And then this dude is really weird from 10 o'clock all the way to like 5 in the morning. He talks about weird spaceship travel and UFOs, saucers, are there aliens in the universe or whatever, weird stuff like that. Saturdays you can get legal advice with Handel and the Law. But anyway, I don't want to go over all of them. But the basic thing is the people that you listen to here, I've listened to them myself sometimes in the morning driving to work, and they're not speaking from a script a lot of times. They're talking together. So it is very natural. And you'll get a lot of the features of what I talked about in this video. You'll get a lot of conversation fillers. You'll get interruptions, hesitations, all that kind of stuff. Now also what's pretty good with this one, it says listen, KFI on demand. Check this out. This is a pretty interesting option that they have. Not all of these websites have this option. You can actually, you have the option, for example, Bill Handel, if you want to hear some of what he did yesterday, you simply play, or you can download it directly onto your computer. John and Ken, Kennedy in Suits, and even on Saturday shows you can do a lot of that stuff. So this on-demand stuff is pretty good because you can control when you listen to it. What you could do is actually listen to the show. You could listen to like a 47-minute segment or something, and as you're listening you could practice taking down notes. And I think this would be real useful to help you improve your listening comprehension skills. Now a second website I think would be very interesting for you and your listening comprehension, and this is the one that Educational Testing Service recommends that you listen to prepare for the TOEFL IBT. Now the difference with this one is going to be easier, at least in the sense that sometimes they're reading from scripts, and the speakers in National Public Radio here, www.npr.org, these speakers actually speak very clearly, and they'll be easier for you to understand than the speakers from the other website. Now, the reason that this one might be harder is the vocabulary is very college level. It's very academic, and it'll be difficult for you to understand the vocabulary. But I think the speech is clear, and that'll be easy. So I also recommend, in addition to going to KFI online, I think the www.npr.org is also a really good one. So you can get transcripts, you can get archives, you can click on a show, not on a show but on an article. For example, Public wants doctors to decide care, not insurers. You click on a link, it'll take you to another page, and here's what I like about it. Is you always have the option of listen, to listen now. And even sometimes you can listen and then it'll actually give you part of the listening script. Actually here, you can read and listen at the same time. This is really, really useful. Now, if you do find, for example, if you find an article, And then you also can listen to it, and they're reading the article. This is what's called a transcript. What you would do, which would be very, very useful for the TOEFL, is without looking at the script, you listen to it, you take down some notes of the main idea and the most important supporting points. You're going to take down those notes, and then when you get done, you can compare your notes with the actual transcript. That would be excellent practice for the TOEFL IBT. Now, the third website I wanted to talk about, I've emailed this guy a couple of times myself. It's the www.esl-lab.com. This is called Randall's ESL Cyber Listening Lab. This is an excellent website. With this one, you have general listening quizzes, easy, medium, and difficult. Obviously, for you, you're focusing, if you're preparing for the TOEFL test, difficult. That's what you want to focus on. You got basic listening tests, focus, I think, on the medium. Listening for academic purposes, focus on difficult and very difficult. So I think this would be good. Now, what you do here is like you click on personal movie review, let's say. You'll click on this. Now, what I like about his is, unlike the previous two websites, here you can actually take quizzes. You can check your comprehension. For example, you have what's called a pre-listening exercise. He gives you a link that you can go to. You can learn about some things. He has a question, what rating systems are used for the quality of movie? This is pretty good because you can go and read and get some information. And once you've read a little bit, you can go to the listening exercise and you push play and then you listen. And then when you get done, you answer the 5 questions. You get your final score here, and you can actually see the correct answers. I mean, how good is that? Now, again, I think this is useful, and I encourage you to do the pre-listening exercises before you do the listening exercises, because you're doing two things here. You're reading, and then you're listening. And remember, for the TOEFL, this is what we call integrated language skills. And this is important for the speaking and the writing sections of the test, both of which have integrated language activities. So it will be good for you to do some reading about the topic and then actually listen to the topic there. So I highly recommend these three websites to get used to improving your overall listening comprehension skills and getting used to natural speech. And that's also what's good about the Randall's Cyber Listening Lab, is his listening activities are not perfect, and they do contain features of natural speech, including conversation fillers, including disruptions in the background and all that kind of stuff. So you really do get used to it. Now, the only thing about Randall's Cyber Listening Lab, which might not be as good as the National Public Radio, is the vocabulary. I think in his is not going to be as advanced as the vocabulary at the National Public Radio, but still I think it will be very, very useful for you to help you improve your listening skills.